Well, okay, so I really should have started off with they're actually cards, right? And so within the card, within the ticket you get the ticket number and the summary
Right,
of the ticket and then the client name. And just under that, we have, you might see the first one there is orange with an orange line across it.
right.
And then there's a couple of them that are red. Each of them are to identify or give me an idea of
Mhm.
the work that needs to be done on the ticket or how long we've been waiting on the ticket. Uh, red is meaning that it's very close to
Not
not
good.
not making
Re-
me very happy.
Yeah, red is bad. Yeah,
It means that I'm a little sweaty when I am looking at this particular screenshot. But yes,
yeah. Well, good. I mean, again, it's all about the visualization, right? Or at least, that's one of the key factors or key ideas here is you visually see things, and obviously you need a legend to begin with, just kind of understand what all the possibilities are.
yeah,
But it's definitely and all the different counters that are important and the colors. It's amazing how much is in that one card, so to speak, right?
mhm,
So
yes.
why don't we, Steve? I know this is not your system, right? But in your case, one thing that Judy said, in the backlog, do you call it backlog or do you call it something else?
The queue. We just have a
Queue.
queue.
Perfect. So, for me, it's all about inputs and outputs of each, how does it go from the queue to the next stage, right? And one of the things we talked about last week was how much time you guys how much time you've spent and defined your processes so that something can move, is quote unquote approved to move. Judy said, hey, I need to have this conversation with the client first. That's what they've decided to do before they move it. I call that the triage process, right? What are the parameters of the triage process so that I can move from stage one to stage two, whatever you call it, right? So let's just say, what is your transformational story around that? I mean, how have you documented and trained your team on those parameters? How do you make sure those parameters or those checklists get done?
Yeah, if I can start with how we actually implemented it in the first place.
Yeah.
Uh, so when we were sort of looking at visualizing our work, we found another tool actually that allowed us to visualize our work, but it didn't connect to ConnectWise. We've been
Mm,
running ConnectWise since 2006, I think. And we were busy writing connectors and APIs and all that sort of fun stuff to get this tool to work. And then my service delivery manager accidentally stumbled across what was then known as CW Kanban, which was ConnectWise Kanban. And he said,
right.
"Hey, Steve, there's software out there that already does this. It's connected to ConnectWise." So we went, "Great!" So we dumped our project and actually started implementing CW Kanban. The important steps we took was we actually took our team through the process of why we were implementing a Kanban system, why we needed visualization, and they
Right.
actually got involved in the process of us determining the different queues, the different columns, and the different statuses, effectively. And each person, each role had a different workflow. So, for example, our service delivery manager has a different queuing system.
Mm,
She triages the tickets and determines what level of engineer is required. So her
mm,
job is to put it in the right queue so the right person gets it. Where the engineers obviously have things that they could choose from or things that are scheduled. Like Judy sort of pointed to that fact, like, hey, we look at the ticket and depending on sort of feedback the client gets, it's either going to be pick it off a queue or it's going to be scheduled at a particular time when they're available. So
mhm.
we developed the systems and processes with our team. Now, what was good about that is we documented that effectively in a PowerPoint presentation. So whenever we bring new team members on board, I just run them back through what we did in those
Uh,
workshops.
yeah.
Now, it takes a hell of a lot less time because it took us weeks and weeks to
Yeah.
actually develop our processes.
Sure.
And by the time we found what's now TopLeft, we were ready to go. But new people, it takes half an hour now to go
Right.
through that PowerPoint.
Yeah. And so, and going back to one of the words you said is process, right? So people, process, technology. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? The three-legged stool or whatever the analogy you want to use. And And the most important resource we have, at least from my perspective, are the people, and we want to develop processes and procedures that they feel like they can be useful and productive. And then we want systems to support those processes, right? So getting the people involved in the beginning, the contextualization process is it's rare, at least in my experience, and I'll dovetail to you, Judy, here and ask you the same thing, is that it's rare that companies or organizations want to spend that much time up front to sort of get the contextualization, get everybody on board, right?